Alrighty guys, welcome back to the channel. So this is actually the second video I'm gonna make on this banner for should you pull this banner, and I've already uploaded the first part where I talked about why you should pull for you, and this part I'm gonna talk about Blaze the Igniting Spark, or I'm just gonna call her Blaze Alta. And this time I split the video into two because the discussion around these two operators I think are a bit more complicated than what looks on the look on surface, so I have to go deeper when it comes to especially Blaze Alta. So that's why this is a two-part video. So you can go back and watch the U video after you've done watching this video, and you'll understand like where I'm coming from after you've done watching this video as well. So without further to say, I guess I can begin and tell you guys that why you do want to pull for Blaze Alta. And here's Blaze Alta. She is our second 6-star primal caster. So the previous one would be Nymph, which is the primal caster for necrosis damage, and Blaze Alta would be the primal caster for burn damage, obviously. So let's take a look at her kit. Obviously similar stats that we're going to see similar to Nymph, and the talent is what I think really shows her potential. So her first talent is that whenever there's an enemy on the field that it gets the burn damage burst, so the full burn element damage is stacked, then she will immediately deal 350% of her attack as elemental damage to them, no matter where they are on the field. Now that increases to 380% with potential, but that's potential 5. I'm gonna say that it's not really worth it for my pools. And she will also recover 15%, up to 15% of her max HP. So obviously potential 5, but without that it's only 12%. So as you can already see, that is a really potentially strong talent if you have another operator that can cause burn damage across the field, which she does not have the capability of doing, and neither does Yu in most circumstances, unless you pair him with other operators that can hit like really far away, like Golden Glow or Lapland Alta. So this talent does have potential, and you can already see how like, okay, they're giving her a lot of stats, right? Her second talent is that whenever she gets knocked down, she falls onto the ground but does not retreat. She does not go back into your hand. She will gain 6,000 points of barrier, and within that downtime she cannot attack and she cannot be healed. For every second she will recover 3% of her HP, and when she recovers all of her HP, so 34 seconds ish, she will revive and stun all nearby enemy by 5 seconds. Now the recovery goes to 3.5% at potential 3, so I think that's a pretty worthy, because you can speed up the time to get back up to less than 30 seconds. So I would say that's pretty decent. Now, this is a really strong skill if you can just put her anywhere, basically, right? I think that's really straightforward, and you can see that both of her talents are both really strong. But why is there a lot of people saying that you shouldn't pull her? I'll have to talk a bit more about her skills to talk about that, but I would say that the biggest reason right now is we only have Yu, and he is not meant to replace Ritualist. And what we're really waiting for is a Ritualist for burn damage. And yeah, it goes a lot more than this. So that's basically her talent for now. I have to talk about her skill next. So let's take a look at her first skill. So her first skill is auto regenerating and automatically triggers itself. So you basically can only just put her down and just AFK with her. So what happens when it activates is that she will immediately choose the operator within her attack area that has the highest max HP and deal a damage over time equivalent to 70% of her attack as arc damage, and then 30% of that damage dealt, so that's dependent on the enemy's resistance and damage, arc damage reduction. 30% of that damage dealt will go into burn damage, and this will be a 20-second damage over time. So this skill looks like potentially can be a good AFK skill, but the biggest issue is that the damage just isn't that high. Maybe in the future, if we have another burn ritualist, this might change. or else like you're just asking for her to deal burn damage, which isn't really that good in my opinion. You have way better other like AFK operators to use rather than using her. So yeah, not really worth M3. I M3'd her just because I really like Blaze, but you don't have to do what I did. So yeah, this is a skip skill, I would say. Next we have skill 2. Upon activation, the attack area changes to Lynn's skill 3, basically. Her attack interval increased by 0.9 seconds and her attack increased by 150%. She will attack 3 enemies at the same time, and whenever she attacks enemies, she will lose 5% of her HP and leave a burning ground on where the target was. Whenever enemy goes through that burning ground, they will lose 50% of their movement speed, and they will take 35% of her damage as arch damage and 30% of that as burn damage, so elemental damage as well. So that's also a damage over time. So this skill, I would say, is actually pretty interesting. It has quite a bit of potential, but it doesn't change the fact that this is a CC skill instead of a damage skill. And usually in these situations, you mostly want enemies, mostly want them to be dealing damage, right? At the end of the day, you want damage. And she's not going to be permanently controlling them, and she's not going to be dealing a ton of damage with this skill. So what is this skill really meant to be? Does it want to deal damage or does it want to control? It's not doing the best in both worlds. Also, you remember how I mentioned that she loses 5% of her HP whenever she attacks? That can actually kill her. So you also need to assign another medic to her, or else she will just go down and then go into the revive cycle, which isn't the most good thing. If you consider that, oh, maybe even if she goes down, she burns herself to death, right? And then she revives, the skill is ready again, and then she stuns everyone for 5 seconds. It sounds good on paper, but you're not doing anything for the 30 odd seconds for her to come back up. The damage, the DPS is low, the control isn't the best. I think that pretty much sums up why I don't recommend you to M3 this skill as well. Again, I M3 just because I really like Blaze, but I think you shouldn't M3 this skill. Unless we get something special in the future, then perhaps that might be a viable choice. But for now, not really worth it. Now, you guys might be wondering, if it's so easy to just ignore her skill 1 and skill 2, why would I say that this is so complicated I need to split it into a 2-part video? Skill 3 is the reason. So, upon activation, Blaze Altar changes her attack area to basically a diamond shape in front of her. Her attack increases by 115%, and her attack interval is greatly decreased by 1.3 seconds. So basically you're looking at a 0.3 second attack interval. Her attack becomes AoE damage, and if the enemy is in burn burst state, they will take another 80% of her attack as elemental damage. She will lose 3% of her max HP every second, and that can kill her. And this skill has 25 armor. Whenever there's an enemy that in the field that enters the burn burst state, she will gain 2 extra ammo, and the skill will last until the ammo is gone. So, as you can see, this skill does not cause burn damage at all. So you're really reliant right now on you to do the burning state. And obviously a lot of people have already stated that, yes, when you pair him with Yu's skill 3, it's kind of not the most fluent, like the most, how should I put it? The most easiest to use skill, because you kind of need the enemies to be packed right in front of her. And then you has to be somewhat close to her and putting out his skill 3, the fireball, to deal the flame, right? Contrary to that, I would actually say that use skill 2 is the better choice, because as you use skill 2, you are basically guaranteed to put a few enemies into burn state. In that case, that will greatly increase the damage that Blaze Altar can do. In fact, you're looking at up to 150k total damage with this combination, use skill 2 and Blaze skill 3. Now, this skill, sure, you're not getting the infinite the theoretically infinite duration from getting the more burn. But this skill also only has 30 seconds of recharge time. And remember when I mentioned in the U video that the U skill 2 is only a 46-second cycle. So you can actually pair every single activation of Blaze's skill 3 with U's skill 2, basically matching their skill cycles. And you can do consistent 150k damage time over time over time, as long the enemy can be blocked by you. And that is the biggest downside of this whole thing, right? Either you use skill 1, which has like a 100-second skill cycle. You're only going to use it once or twice in the entire combat, and hence that kind of cancels out the use of Blaze Alter's skill 3, because you're not getting the burn, you're not getting the extra damage, you're only dealing like 40-50k base arch damage, which isn't a lot. It's short, it's a quick burst damage. You're looking like, it kind of feels like using Degenbrecher's skill 3, kind of feels like that. But the fact is that if we want to do that, we can just use other operators to do that. We have other operators that can already do that anyway. Like, why not just use Volcano, whatever, right? So once you pair this with your skill 3, you're kind of canceling out the potential of this skill. When you pair it with your skill 2 though, you're doing consistent high burst damage once every 46 seconds. And that, I would say, is a really good skill under only one circumstances where the enemy can be blocked by you. And that is where I'm saying that just because... No, I think I might be going too far. Okay, that is why I'm saying we really want Ritualist for burn damage. And as long as we can have that, we can easily place the Ritualist right in front of her, right? And then cause a huge area to have burn. Or maybe like think of what's her name? Virtuosa skill 3, huge area of burn, and then that will just keep recharging her skill 3. That will make this skill so much easier to use. And that skill, like looking at Virtuosa skill 3, those usually don't have 100 seconds of cycle time. Like they're more like 70-ish seconds, if I recall correctly. Don't quote me on that. I did not look that up when I'm saying this. But you get the point. You can get way better skill cycles. You can activate this skill way more frequently. And because you're getting way more burn as well, you can actually extend this skill, and then the skill cycle will actually match up again. That is just perfect combination. So the synergy between Blaze Alter and use skill 3 is horrible. With skill 2 is actually the best what we have right now. But potentially we're looking at in the future, where when we get a Ritualist, not only are we getting a far more extended, extremely high DPS skill 3, but don't forget we also have the first talent, where you're getting those 350% of her arch damage as, you know, whenever as elemental damage stuff or whatever that was. You're getting a lot more damage when you have a Ritualist for burn damage. And that is why I reckon that even though technically speaking we might not have the best combination, because Yu still has his like constraints where enemy needs to be able to be blocked, and there are a lot of enemies that cannot be blocked right now in the game, like flying bosses or just huge bosses that you can't even touch anyway, you can't even block anyway. A lot of those situations you can't really use this combination, but I think there is a potential here. And what I will say is that you might not get her right now, and that is still fine. You don't have to go full out on this banner just to get her. But if you get her, just remember that it's not that bad to get her. And if you can get her off banner in the future, when we eventually get the Ritualist, which I don't know when, because currently CN is 6 months ahead and we haven't seen a burn Ritualist yet. We thought we thought we were gonna get another Ritualist, but we got Tragodia instead. It gets complicated. So this is a operator that you can really look forward in the future for her, you know, performance. But right now, she's not performing anywhere as bad as people would think. It's just that you can't think of this skill with Yu skill 3, but Yu skill 2. Then you're getting a pretty good combination. Now, let's talk about where I would use her. So again, you're only looking at skill 3, and in your daily content, there isn't much situation where you would want to use Blaze Altar instead of just Nymph with Virtuoso combo, because that combo still deals a quite decent amount of elemental damage, and you don't really need the AoE elemental damage in this case what we're getting as of right now yet. But you can see that this can potentially skip a lot of enemy mechanics because of how fast she can deal those damage. Sometimes the bosses like that have invincibility or something like that when it takes time for their mechanics to activate. In that split second, maybe like 0.5 second, she could deal so much more damage that you can sometimes skip some of those mechanics. So that is still a thing that I think is potentially pretty decent. The other issue with her is that she doesn't really work well with logos, so you have to keep that in mind, because when you cause the burn damage burst, you're gonna have to ignore the necrosis damage burst, which, yes, logos does benefit from a bit, so they don't really work too well together, so you have to keep that in mind. In CC, again, I think having to block is a huge issue, because in CC we really rarely block enemies nowadays in like the highest risk CCs. I don't really see her participating in that yet until we get the ritualist. In IS, sadly, we don't really have an elemental meta right now. We might get that in IS6, but I haven't seen any sign of that as of right now. So this is potentially something that can be good in the future, but definitely not now. In RA, you can choose to position your tiles so that enemy can come right in front of her and then cause a bunch of burn damage, and then hence cause her, like, make her skill 3 pretty much go indefinitely. Yes, but what's the real difference between that and just maybe Ifrit and someone else instead of Blaze plus you? That will be up to you to decide. And then obviously in SSS, you kind of need 2 operators to like work together at the same time, and then you're giving both of them SP and all that stuff. You have to work too much around these skills, and what you're getting is a skill that doesn't scale too well. Like, you have other operators that will scale much better. Like, I don't know, Golden Glow is still one of my favorite, because I just love how well she scales. Same with Lapland Altar, or just, you know, Wizardel at that point. So yeah, right now it doesn't feel like she's in the best state, especially you have to pair her with you, which isn't the best kind of operator that you want to pair with right now. Defenders are still kind of expensive to deploy, plus she costs 21 DP as well. It's kind of heavy. If we get a ritualist that costs like 12-13 DP, much better. So that would be it, and that is why I have to make this video into a 2-part, because I think that looking at her kit, she has potential. It's just that now might not be her best time to shine just yet. But wait, when we get a ritualist, and everything might change. So I hope that does happen, and I'll see you guys when I end up pulling this banner, or I might be streaming a lot of IS6 and I might forget to pull. So I hope that doesn't happen. Either ways, I will see you guys then. Bye.